Guys, I hope everyone's doing really good. It's go do your own research. I'm back in the building. This is going to be kind of a part 2 to my last live stream I did, where I went very thoroughly through the Casio's lawsuit against the Michael Jackson estate, and also showed some stuff about his attorney, Martin Singer, because I realized after I did that live stream, although it was very long and very thorough, that there was a lot of stuff I didn't say about Martin Singer, and also more to say about Michael Citrick, the publicist who had Martin Singer on his podcast talking about how important public relations were public image was, as opposed to, or public perception, as opposed to legal court. So the court of public opinion over legal court. Got there in the end. I really hope that my audio is not going to let me down tonight as well. Obviously, I'm just going to stream with the camera off tonight, so it's going to be a lot of reading. So, yeah, because I noticed there was a couple of bits where it cut out, but I'll go over everything again today. So Michael Citrick worked for Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein. In fact, I've shown him before on my People web. Let me see if I can bring it up for you. As per usual, I've got a lot of tabs to illustrate my presentation tonight. But I'm going to try and make it much quicker than the last one, honestly, because I know there's only so much of this stuff you can take in one setting. Sitting. Yeah, but let me quickly show. Okay. This is my People web. So we have Michael Citrick up here, yeah? We have Donald Trump. Jeffrey Epstein. These are the connections, the connectors. Harvey Weinstein, Mark Garagos, Michael Jackson, Brian Friedman, Diddy, Michael Citrick. I've already gone through this on other live streams or videos, but Michael Citrick, one of his employees, Holly Baird, she now works for Mark Garagos. They were doing the crisis PR for Diddy during the trial. There's a lot more connections that we're going to get into as well. But yeah, it's just really weird that here on social media, if you show that the people who make content in support of Michael Jackson, not just Michael Jackson, P. Diddy, Weinstein, in the case of Candace Owens, a whole bunch of people, of men who have abused women and children. If you make content showing that they are scammers and practically criminals themselves, in some cases having to leave the country, their own country, because they're accused of defrauding people, financial fraud mainly. You'd think people would be like, oh, yeah, thanks for letting me know that. Wow, yeah, maybe I should stay clear of those people. Maybe those people can't really be trusted. But no, they react very negatively towards you. Funny that, isn't it? And if you actually check the records, that there's so much evidence to show that Michael Jackson had an attraction to kids. He gave them alcohol, he gave them Xanax. And he had a whole bunch of people around him that were trying to hide that information by saying he was weird, he didn't have a childhood, or neurodivergence is the latest theory, or created smear campaigns against the people that he preyed on and groomed into having to support and lie for him. You're also hated on social media. In my live stream the day before yesterday, I showed some of the comments from Jackson defenders telling me I'm mentally ill and that I need to watch propaganda videos because I haven't done my research. And they falsely believe that people who accuse Michael Jackson do it for money, when history and evidence shows it is the estate who pay out. As my glasses falling off. To buy the silence of anyone who knew about his abuse. I showed that the Michael Jackson estate attorney, Martin Singer, is accusing the Casios of sextortion and has defended abusers who were outed in the Me Too movement. I think this is the right tab. Yeah. Like Bill Cosby, but what I didn't say, because his Wikipedia page has been edited to hide a lot of information about some of the worst people he's worked with. Now, one thing that I've learned from studying crisis PRs is that that's one of their tactics, is to edit Wikipedia pages constantly, updating, to rewrite history. They've basically compromised Wikipedia and that other one, IMDb, I think it is. So these platforms, these sources of information, these free resources are no longer accurate anymore. That used to be like genuine open sources of information, non-for-profit. And they're the ones that have changed that for the worse. So one of the people he defended was a notorious underage sex offender called Brian Singer, who took advantage of multiple male teenagers in the 90s and 2000s. So I looked up this video by this channel called Dreading Crime and Psychology, because they do a really good video on it. Everyone knew, this is actually how I heard about it. Everyone knew Bryan Singer dreading. Okay, so this is an hour long. Like, he does really long, very in-depth documentation of people like R. Kelly. He's
tired of living in your inbox. These whisper.
He shows a lot of footage from inside the court, testimonies, court documents. So that is Bryan Singer, yeah. And in 2014, he was accused by lots of men of abusing them when they were teenagers, basically. He had a history of chaotic film sets, allegations of SA and misconduct with minors, and how his industry power enabled him to evade accountability for decades. And Martin Singer, who's not related to him, was his attorney for years. Okay. One thing I quickly wanted to say as well is the other day when I was talking about the lawsuit, they were arguing about this EFAA. So this is it's a legislation that has changed in 2024. And it's about enforcing arbitration. So if you have signed a contract with someone and there's a dispute over SA or sexual harassment, it means that the court cannot enforce arbitration, even if that's what was said in the contract. It voids that contract. So that's what they're disputing at the moment. I just wanted to quickly say that because I wasn't sure what EFAA stood for, but that's actually what it is. It's Ending Forced Arbitration Act. Before I forget. So going back to Martin Singer, yeah. Another actor that he defended was called Jeremy Renner. I actually saw a movie with him the other night. That was what reminded me, because I was like, I'm sure I heard something about him. Another actor that had a history of multiple disturbing allegations, even recently. I think something happened last year where a woman said that he'd used the excuse of giving her a job and then sexually assaulted her. That's how these people operate. They hide behind it being a work arrangement. That's why that EFAA is so important. But yeah, Martin Singer, he defends these people. And someone else who was friends with Michael Jackson is Brett Ratner. And I have done a bit of a deep dive into him before. But also, like, I feel like people have stopped talking about the Epstein files. Like, it's like everyone's just moved on, or if they are talking about it, they're not talking about it with any kind of reference to what's actually in the files that we have. So I'm going to show quite a bit that I think has been missed That's why I decided to do another live stream tonight, because I just find this stuff fascinating, that it's just there for anyone to read, and yet no one seems to talk about it. So Brett Ratner was a music video director, I should say, turned Hollywood director, and he made the Rush Hour series with Chris Tucker, who's also in the Epstein files. Okay. So obviously this is Brett Ratner with Michael Jackson. This is from a Michael Jackson fan Instagram account. Official Dorita Jackson. It was posted on the 29th of May. It's only got 8 likes. But it's a series where it says, 30th May 2003, after the book launch of History, Michael attended the MTV Awards after party at Ron Burkle's mansion. Well, guess what? Ron Burkle is in the Epstein files, and he used Michael Citrick as a publicist, and it's in the Epstein files. I just can't believe it. Ron Burkle also purchased the Neverland Ranch. I think it was in 2021. But yeah, Brett Ratner is mentioned multiple times in the Epstein files, even though he's tried to say that he, like all the other people that are testifying in front of the oversight committee or whatever it's called, they're all saying, oh, I hardly knew him. I never saw anything bad happening. If I had, there's no way I would have been friends with him. And people seem to be getting away with it because no one's getting charged. No one's getting investigated. Time is just passing by and nothing is happening. But yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit hard to believe when you see these are all photos that were in the Epstein files. Look, even his name's there. And clearly that is Brett Ratner, who was good buddies with Michael Jackson. In all these pictures. And this is taken in Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. That's the living room. Oops. You can just see the table in the background, the layout. There he is. And obviously there was this picture, which was part of that set, where he's posing with Jean-Luc Brunel with his top off. I'm going to play a clip of Brett Ratner in a minute where he's saying, oh, I was with my girlfriend and she took me to an event with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's like, well, this obviously is in his house. So I don't know what kind of event that was. But there's the picture. So yeah, as I said, Brett Ratner was was close to Michael Jackson. Like, he was definitely in his inner circle. He was trying to help rehabilitate and make video content of him at the time that Vincent Arman worked for him. So if you go on Vincent Arman's website, he's posted a video clip, which I showed in my video, the people profiting from Michael Jackson's lies. They're all sat around the table and Brett Ratner walks in. So they're sat at the table and there's this guy called Mark Schaffel. Okay, so Michael Jackson hired Mark Schaffel. This is the year that the Martin Bashir documentary came out, 2003, the same year that picture with Diddy was taken. And basically, in response to that, they made a film, a TV program called The Home Movies of Michael Jackson, the films they didn't want you to see or something. And they apparently did a deal with Fox TV for a lot of money. Mark Schaffel was a producer of 18 plus content, adult entertainment. They also tried to do a charity song, which was a flop. And Brett Ratner walks into shot and he's literally moaning about Michael Jackson, saying, because they're making this film, and they're trying to get Michael Jackson to cooperate and do some work, and he just walks in and he's absolutely fed up with Michael Jackson. He's complaining about him, saying that he's got an attitude and that he is obsessing about Madonna instead of getting on with the film they're trying to make, or the program, or whatever it is. So yeah, let me just show you this article about Brett Ratner from 2017. Okay. So it says, the Miami Beach-born Brett Ratner, a producer-director whose films include X-Men, The Last Stand, and Horrible Bosses, has been accused of sexual misconduct by 6 women, the Los Angeles Times reports. The Hollywood powerhouse player denies the accusations through his attorney. Guess who his attorney is, everyone? I did already say. Yeah, it's Martin Singer. The Hollywood, in this file photo, he is pictured at the Intercontinental Hotel in Miami on November 2nd, 2013. Miami Beach native Brett Ratner, who went on to become one of Hollywood's most powerful director-producers, is the latest movie mogul to be accused of sexual misconduct. The revelation comes after scores of women have come forward to name producer Harvey Weinstein and later James Toback as an alleged sexual predator. So there's literally an email from Jeffrey Epstein in the Epstein files that he sends to Weingard, is it? One of his lawyers, because Jeffrey Epstein has so many lawyers. And he's like, in fact, there's 2. He's literally watching every day. Jeffrey Epstein is seeing who's being called out next. And he's literally saying, Brett Ratner is next. And then on the same day, he's like, they got Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner denies that they had a friendship, but he's definitely mentioned a lot of times 6 women, including actresses Olivia Munn, Natasha Henstridge, and Catherine Town, have spoken out against Ratner, 48, whose films include X-Men, The Last Stand, Rush Hour, and Horrible Bosses. A lengthy expose in Wednesday's Los Angeles Times detailed the alleged incidents. Ratner, through his longtime attorney Martin Singer, who sent a 10-page letter to the Times, categorically disputed their accounts. You see how they all categorically dispute the accounts? This is the playbook. I have represented Mr. Ratner for 2 decades, and no woman has ever made a claim against him for sexual misconduct or sexual harassment, Singer said in his letter to the Times. Furthermore, no woman has ever requested or received any financial settlement from my client. But the women are now telling their stories. Henstridge said she fell asleep on Ratner's couch when she was a 19-year-old fashion model, and he was a music video director for stars like Public Enemy and LL Cool J when he was in his early 20s. Ratner, a class of 1986 Miami Beach senior high graduate, blocked the doorway when she woke and tried to leave, she said. He forced her to perform oral. He strong-armed me in a real way. He physically forced himself on me, she told the Times. The Canadian actress had her breakthrough role in the 1995 sci-fi film Species. Ratner did not work on that film. Munn said that while visiting the set of the 2004 directed After the Sunset, I'm pretty sure that was the movie that Michael Jackson visited the set of. This was part of the rehabilitation, make him seem like a normal guy. Like Michael Jackson was trying to get into the movie business at this point. He furiously masturbated in front of her, and I'm trying to think of a polite way of putting that. Spurted in his trailer when she went to deliver a meal. Before I literally could even figure out where to escape or where to look, she told the Times. So she's, how old is she? I think she was still a teenager. 19. Munn, who later had roles in non-Ratner films like Iron Man 2 and X-Men Apocalypse, wrote about the alleged incident in her 2010 collection of essays. Oh, what have I done? I think I've just lost my notes. Suck It, Wonder Woman, the misadventures of a Hollywood geek, without naming Ratner. I've made specific conscientious choices not to work with Brett Ratner, Munn told the Los Angeles Times, after she became infuriated at sexual comments she claimed Ratner had repeatedly made to her after her book was released, and to support other women who are brave enough to speak up. Town, daughter of Chinatown screenwriter Robert Town, said Ratner was overly aggressive. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. in his come-ons at a Hollywood party in 2005. I mean, I did say, yeah, that I hope I did say that this guy was in jail for R-wording underage girls. This guy had been investigated for years and years and years. There were investigations into what he was doing to models of 13 upwards. Nothing happened. Finally, he's in jail. Virginia Roberts was meant to testify at his trial, and then he was found hung in his cell. He hung himself. He couldn't deal with it. Go back to the article. Singer Ratner's attorney responded, "How is flirting at a party, complimenting a woman on her appearance and calling her to ask her for a date wrongful conduct?" In the wake of Weinstein, with a Miami accuser who said she left the film industry after her alleged experience with the producer, more than a dozen men in film, music, and stage have been accused of sexual misconduct. They include Kevin Spacey, Ben Affleck. I didn't know Ben Affleck was. David Blaine. He was in the Epstein files, and he was with Michael Jackson in the UK. Even President George H.W. Bush. In 2012, Ratner co-founded the production company Rat Pack Entertainment, which partnered with June Entertainment in a co-financing deal with Warner Brothers, worth about $450 million. Rat Pack June Entertainment is one of the biggest financiers of recent Warner Brothers films hits Wonder Woman and the adaptation of Stephen King's It, which this fall went on to become the highest grossing R-rated horror film in history. The Los Angeles Times account could impact Warner Brothers, which now must do damage control, Business Insider reported Wednesday. The company is due to release Steven Spielberg's latest film, Ready Player One, in 2018. Warner Brothers is also a major part of Time Warner, that is being acquired by AT&T in a deal with a preliminary agreement price tag of $85 billion, according to Business Insider. Director-producer Brett Ratner with Peter Bogdanovich and Bill Teck stand outside the Miracle Theatre in Coral Gables in 2017. The directors were in town for a screening of Tech's documentary One Day Since Yesterday. Peter Bogdanovich and the Lost American Film. The Miami Beach-born Ratner was a producer. Ratner, a child of 1970s and 80s Miami Beach, had arrived in Hollywood in a major way. 5 former assistants who worked closely with him over the years during his rise to the top defend him against the allegations. They all said they did not witness Ratner misbehave and had high praise for him as a boss and a mentor. Ratner credited his simple roots as a grounding influence. He was raised by a single mom and his grandparents. I just can't believe this. When Dr. Mario Pressman, a radiologist born Mieczysław Pressman in Poland and raised in Cuba, died at 94 in 2014, Ratner called his grandfather my father. Yeah, so I had a feeling. He now lives in Israel. Yeah, he's been exiled. He's exiled himself to Israel. But he's not from Israel. He works for the ADL now, the Anti-Defamation League. He taught us by example by living a life with integrity, with dignity, and with love, Ratner said of his granddad. When Ratner achieved success in Hollywood through Rush Hour and its sequels and music videos for Madonna and Mariah Carey, he presented his grandparents with a luxury bus so that they could visit him in Beverly Hills. He was a medical doctor and he aspired for me to go to college. Ratner, also an alum of Rabbi Alexander S. Gross Hebrew Academy in Miami Beach, told the Herald. In 2014, Grandad wanted Ratner to become a doctor too, but the soon-to-be mogul had other desires and opted for New York University's film school. So this was an email from Jeffrey Epstein to GMAX, that is Ghislaine Maxwell. And it says, spoke to Bobby Kotick. He was with Brett Ratner. He asked for a pilot for his 407 and his Gulfstream. I put him in touch with Darren, Larry's friend, the great heli pilot. Also, Bobby said he is learning to fly. I mean, it sounds like they were pretty close. There was other messages where his publicist, his other publicist, not his crisis publicist, Peggy Siegel, was saying, oh, I'm sitting next to Brett Ratner and he says he loves you. And going back to this picture, yeah? This is obviously Brett Ratner, Michael Jackson, and P. Diddy. And this guy is called Ron Burkle. Get rid of that. Ron Burkle is going to come up. All right, let me show you Ron Burkle right now. Ron Burkle is all over the Epstein files. So this is Michael Jackson at this party. Nicole Richie, that is. Brandy, Ray J's sister. This guy is a old Hollywood actor. There's other pictures of these lot hanging out in West Palm Beach. So let me just quickly show you. I had written a whole load of notes, and I think I've just deleted them, so I'm going to have to try and ad-lib my way through this now. But okay, so this is in the Epstein files. Ron Burkle, like I said, he's all over the Epstein files. It's actually some of the files that I saved very early on, I can't access them anymore, so I think some of them may have been deleted. There's a lot of stuff about his personal life. So this is a 100-page document from the Epstein files, yeah, and I'm obviously not going to show all of it, but it's just like a whole bunch of press articles, photographed and stuck together, PDFs mainly. But this article was from a magazine called The New York, I think. And it was called Billionaires Are Free. So it's talking about Epstein, it's talking about Ron Burkle and what they get up to. And I worked out, because they said he's 53 and he's now 73. So this must have been 20 years ago this article was written, yeah? And it says, talking about his early life, blah, 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 what he's done. All the stuff he's done for charity, because that's something people love to bring up in the comments about how much Michael Jackson did for charity. I try and tell them that that was all part of business deals. It wasn't really his money. And when he was meant to give his own money or profits, they had to sue him to get it. It goes a lot deeper than that anyway, because some of those countries like Mexico and the Philippines, I think he went to the Philippines, where obviously their own resources are already being exploited for other countries. They used Pepsi, they used Michael Jackson to dominate the markets over, to dominate the soft drinks market and take over from local drinks companies and use up their water supplies to make Pepsi. So it's a lot deeper than, saying he didn't pay the charities. He actually helped to make those countries worse off. It's difficult to live in the public eye while keeping full control of your image, even for a billionaire, as Burkle found when he made the acquaintance of a Page Six writer of questionable wardrobe and integrity named Jared Paul Stern. Burkle caught Stern on tape. I mean, that in itself is extremely weird. Like, the fact that he's taping him, because it says he caught him on tape, so it makes it sound like that was a trap. Allegedly trying to shake him down. That is the exact words they're still using to this day. The Casio lawsuit is a shakedown, they said. But possibly in this case, the cure was worse than the disease, with Burkle, by many accounts, an ordinary guy who does his own laundry. There's nothing ordinary about him. This guy flew around the world. He was best friends with Clinton. He was someone who enabled Clinton's extramarital affairs. And I think that him and Epstein did not get on probably because Epstein was trying to muscle in on Clinton as his best friend. That's what he said actually, that's what Clinton said at his deposition to the Oversight Committee about Epstein. That was a few months ago. Okay. To defend his zone, by many accounts, an ordinary guy who does his own laundry, suddenly as famous as Brad Pitt. Also, he treated his wife during their divorce disgustingly. To defend his zone of privacy, Burkle has put together a fearsome cloak and daggerish security apparatus, including crisis manager Mike Citrick. This is why I wanted to bring this up. Yeah, just listen to this. I was just literally disgusted. Who was brought in to quiet things down when hedge fund manager Bruce McMahon was accused of conducting an affair with his own daughter. This is a really deep story. I looked it up. He literally was having an incestuous relationship with his own daughter, and she got engaged to someone else, and that's how it all came out. And Frank Renzi, who was in President Clinton's Secret Service detail. This is the guy who is doing crisis PR for the Michael Jackson estate for decades. A decade, I think it said in the article I read out when I first brought him up. His wife, who petitioned for alimony of $410,000 a month, but eventually received $40,000. The guy's a billionaire, and this is in 2006. I worked out. Provided a sobering view of the end of billionaire romance. My husband is enormously wealthy, a billionaire, has his own 757 jet, and literally could track me down anywhere in the world, she testified. He is used to exerting control over all the people he comes into contact with, including myself. He cannot stand losing anything. Yeah, so I just thought, wow. Okay, that's another connection between this group of people. I'm going to go back to Citrick. And his relationship to Epstein, or shall I do it now? Maybe I'll just do it now. Okay, so this is more Epstein file emails. Okay, this is 3 to 4 pages. And it's in 2011. And it's obviously Mike Citrick is emailing. And he's Jeffrey Epstein. March 7, 2011. And he says, at most, I would say that the current media allegations date back over a decade, that you deeply regret some of your past conduct, and that your present and future are committed to helping the community through your philanthropic contributions and discharging your responsibilities as a financier at the highest professional level. Aside from he said, here is a draft statement. Jeffrey, here is a draft statement. Aside from the fact that some of the allegations being levied against me are false, those actions which resulted in my pleading to soliciting a minor for and soliciting, as well as those which are the subject of the civil suits being reported on in the media, occurred more than a decade ago. This was a different time and chapter in my life, and one with the help of counselling I have put behind me. I'm a different person today than I was then, and I'm focusing on helping the community through educational, scientific, and healthcare philanthropic contributions, as well as discharging my responsibility as a financier at the highest professional level. Mike. Jeffrey, my partner Tony Knight says we would have difficulty supporting the decade comment based on his read of the court records. Oh, someone did a fact check. Only because they didn't want to get sued, obviously. Maybe we can say that they occurred years ago or something like that. Mike. We're not getting the Jeffrey's replies. Jeffrey to Mike. March 7th, 2011. I've just been told that there is a white Suburban outside of my house with an FBI sign in the window. Mike said, wonder if it's legit. Jeffrey replied, don't know. Strange that they display a sign. Yes, it really is. It seems strange to me, replied Mike. But who knows? Let me know as soon as you get sign off on the statement and we will get it out. If you can have someone send me all the contact information, we will start calling and emailing ASAP. Okay? I'm not going to show every single message, but if you put Mike Citric, if you put Citric into the Epstein files, a lot of results come up. But like I said, I didn't want to make this super long. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show is from June 17th, 2012. And it says, Dear Miss Marshall, this firm represents Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. We understand that on or about March 22, 2012, Citric and Company unilaterally commenced an arbitration against Mr. Epstein before the American Arbitration Association. As explained below, Citric does not have the right to submit this dispute to arbitration, and its demand for arbitration is based on claims relating to work that is far outside the scope of the only arbitration provision that ever existed between the parties. Citric claims in this arbitration that Mr. Epstein owes Citric money for public relations work that Citric allegedly performed for Mr. Epstein in connection with negative press circulated about the latter in 2011. Citric bases its demand for arbitration on a long-expired agreement that Citric entered into almost 7 years ago with Black, Srebnick, Cornspan and Stump, a Miami, Florida law firm, which appears to have signed the agreement on behalf of Mr. Epstein. In connection with the Black law firm's representation of Mr. Epstein in a very specific criminal case, the 2005 consulting agreement. So basically, Citric worked for Epstein during his 2005 trial. Oh, was it in 2005? It was in 2008, wasn't it? Sorry. It wasn't a trial anyway. Prosecution that ended in a sweetheart plea deal. But obviously the case started in 2005. Moreover, until Citric's alleged work in 2011, the last time that Citric had rendered any services in connection that case or any other matter for Mr. Epstein was sometime in the middle of 2006, nearly 6 years ago. So it just seems a bit weird that he would be emailing him statements in 2011 without a contract since 2006. I don't know. Maybe Epstein thought he was doing it as a favor. Anyway, it's obviously a legal dispute going on. But it clearly shows that he worked for Epstein. Who pleaded to being a pedophile and a sex offender. I think what they're talking about in this 2011 situation was his involvement with formerly Prince Andrew. There we go, look. On or about March 22nd, 2012, Citric submitted to the AAA a demand for arbitration against Mr. Epstein. Citric alleged in the demand that Mr. Epstein failed to pay Citric for public relations services concerning the royal family issues. Citric alleges without any legal basis whatsoever that these claims fall within the scope of the arbitration provision contained in the 2005 consulting agreement that had clearly terminated in 2008. Anyway, I don't know what happened there, but I just thought it was interesting because of something very similar happened with Harvey Weinstein, actually. I think he had to sue him as well. Really funny that these abusive men don't want to pay their bills for their crisis PRs to cover up their abuse or rehabilitate their images. Okay. Let me go back to Brett Ratner, because there's a lot more. I just hope that at least one person that sees Michael Jackson propaganda and believes it can understand the level of the people that create these campaigns, how dark and devious they are. All right, did I show this one? This was another email. I think I did show that one. That was an email talking about that Bobby Kotick. So I looked him up, and he's the guy that bought Xbox and really caused a lot of damage in the gaming industry by all accounts. So yeah, let's go back to this. Just want to make sure I show everything that I got ready. I can get rid of that. Okay, so this one This one says, this is from the BBC. And it's funny because when I read these BBC articles, having done all of the research that I've done, I'm like, it just shows you how little or how unthorough their research in some of these articles actually are. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm completely ignoring the chat. I can actually put the chat up on the screen. That's so cool. Right, what have I missed? Hi there, you're late again. You'll be 30 minutes behind. That's okay. I'm used to just talking. You sense I'm not QAnon. Definitely not. Definitely not QAnon. I'm politically not. I'm a politically neutral. I think that's the right word. I'm not in support of any party. I think they're all part of the same system. People defending people they don't know, you'll never understand it. They see what they show them on TV, internet, and people buy it as if they don't live in the private, right? This is what I'm saying. And it's like, I see very few people actually showing them who comes up with these campaigns. I mean, this is serious stuff. These people work for politicians. This is the guy, Matthew Hiltzig, who was also on my People web. Yeah, he's very much linked to the same people. He did work for Epstein. That's how Donald Trump got elected. Citrick and Hiltzig, you know. And if more people understood the role they played, they might be a little bit more cynical and a little bit less believing of what they're presented on TV, because even programs like 60 Minutes, which claim to do investigations and expose people, are sort of softening the blow in a way for them. They don't go hard enough. There's a photo of Diddy and Jacko inside a hotel with a little white boy. It looks like they never abused him. I don't know about that. Where did you see that? The Michael Jackson Clinton something, didn't they? The Michael Jackson Clintons, they don't care about you no matter how much one defends them, right? And another thing that that I've tried to say in most of my videos, in most of my content, because obviously this is a research channel. It's called Go Do Your Own Research. So anything that I say, you can go and check it. I'm not making it up. I'm just pointing it out because, you know, I have spent a lot of time reading the Epstein files and understanding how the music and movie industries were so connected. I don't really have an allegiance to any of these people, honestly. Like, obviously, I'm aware of who they were. Very much was into music culture and hip hop culture during the 2000s, but I'm kind of disgusted by it now. Just making sure I see all these comments. No police, no summons, no courts of law. Right? I mean, this stuff goes so deep, you know, because I'm not sure how many of you guys were aware about the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively case, but that's kind of what got me into doing these kind of research streams, because they exposed the workings of the crisis PRs. Yeah. So once I heard about them, this woman, Melissa Nathan, who worked for Matthew Hiltzig during the 2016 Trump campaign, so she was mixed up in Cambridge Analytica as well. I started looking at Diddy during the Diddy trial, and I found that Holly Baird used to work for Citric. But then I only recently found out that Citric worked for the Jackson estate. So it's just like wild how all these people are like literally connected behind the scenes. Their lawyers and their crisis PRs and their tactics and their games that they play in the court of public opinion, but they'll go out and say, oh, the public can't judge. It's for the courts to decide. But they know that what they actually want is for the people, the public, to influence the court's decisions. When the business interests pushed through the first installment of civil service reform in 1883, wow, this is going deep. They expected that they would be able to control both political parties equally. Indeed, some of them intended to contribute to both and to allow an alternation of the two parties in public office in order to conceal their own influence and to allow the electorate to believe that they were exercising their own free chance. I know. I mean, there's just so much with the oil companies, the sugar companies, the lobbying, the secret lobbying that has gone on using entertainment and media, even setting up whole companies, like setting up fake activism companies to try and pretend that they're against the oil industry and things like that. It's so deep. No lawyer's fee and no rules of war. Sorry, these messages are a bit mixed up. Bill Gates. Oh, I know. He's testifying today, isn't he? Was just brought in by a House panel to answer why he still kept seeing Epstein after Epstein was exposed. I mean, did you see those messages where he was saying about the STD and how he didn't want to tell his wife that he'd given her an STD? And he's still going to turn around and say, well, I didn't know he was doing anything wrong. No one came to me and said anything. Which is what they've all said. Even Leslie Groff, the assistant. It's just like, well, I mean, how can you say you didn't know anything was going on? It's just beyond belief. They should do a lie detector test in a public court. I know they're not admissible, but it would just be interesting to see that machine going all over the place. Afraid the ordinary citizen will not like to be told that the banks can and do create money, and that they who control the credit of the nation direct the policy of government. I know. It's all very, very deep, but you know, I just think like start small and you end up here. BBC is like all the other media owned by the money mafia. I know it is. But you know, I just search results, and the BBC normally gives you like a sort of comprehensive view. So that's why I picked this article. But yeah, we had a bit of a debate about the BBC and the mainstream media the other day on a live stream I did talking about Tyler Oliveira, because I was like, yeah, well, I know the BBC are shit, and I know that they employ pedos, and I know that they're misogynist, and I know that they give out misinformation, but then I just feel like what the alternative is even worse. Maybe I'm just deceiving myself. It's your belief that the Epstein files are a psyop to complete an objective. I mean, in a way, I know what you're saying. But then it's been absolutely fascinating studying it. Like, honestly, I get lost in reading these Epstein files. And I mean, considering there's like 1 million to get through, I'm nowhere near. I haven't even chipped the surface. Just like, okay, let me get on with this article, and then I've got a few more bits to show. Speaking of Epstein's victims, because this girl, I mean, obviously I showed all the other pictures when this was taken, but Ratner is claiming that this girl was his fiance. Yeah, her name's oh my god, she's Romanian. I think it's Alina Kuskau or something. She's a model. She came to the US when she was 16, and she was Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, apparently. So I'm thinking she must be a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. Alina Pascal. Look, this was one of the articles that was on that 100-page document that I read out, the Billionaires article. This was from the New York Post in 2005, and it says, now that his romance with Serena Williams has gone south, Randy director Brett Ratner seems to be settling down with his former gal pal, model Alina Pascal, and has been flashing a massive canary yellow diamond engagement ring Ratner recently gave her, we're told. Oh, we're told Pascal, a Romanian stunner, used to date reclusive billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. So she when she was 16, she won the elite models 1998 competition. So I don't know. I tried looking online today. She actually has a YouTube channel, Alina. She's back in Romania, and she's doing all sorts of weird stuff, like kind of massage. Like 1 minute she's a masser, then she's going on talk shows saying that she dated Vin Diesel. But there's not anything about her being a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, if this is her in this picture, she definitely looks like a victim. And if it's true that she was his girlfriend. There's another message here that says, now that his romance with Serena Williams has gone south, Randy director Brett Ratner seems to be settling down with his former gal pal, model Alina Pascal, has been flashing a massive canary yellow diamond engagement ring Ratner recently gave her, we're told. Pascal, a Romanian stunner, used to date reclusive billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein, who handles Redacted, so we know that's Les Wexner. Fortune helped land her a gig modeling. So she was a Victoria's Secret model. And she had a music career as well. I'm sorry, I'm not going to inflict any of her music on you, but it's dreadful. But Brett Ratner directed her music videos. But I just want to get back to showing you about Brett Ratner and what a liar he is anyway. So Hollywood director Brett Ratner said he didn't have a personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein after a photo You see how they put it off? A photo emerged of him with the late sex offender and 2 women. It was a whole series of photos, and he's in multiple of the emails. If you files, there's pages up. Ratner, who directed the new documentary about Melania Trump. So that documentary was released on the same day that the Epstein files came out, which was the last day that, you know, when they had that legislation that they had to release them, and they left it till the last day, and then a huge drop of 1 million files, which no one has got time to read. Do you think that was deliberate by any chance? So about Ratner told, so I actually have that clip. I was in love with her. We were engaged. She was my fiance. I wonder who Brett Ratner's crisis PR is. We went to an event and we on the couch, and it's not an event, actually in the living room. I don't think that's, and this is, I mean, like, where's the big deal? And that's not an event. They're in outfits as well. I didn't have a personal relationship with him. I didn't. Photo was and Chris Tucker as well, who was really good friends with together in Palm. There is just no way you can say he didn't know him. Just no way. The photo was among millions of pictures and documents relating to Epstein. Department of State is an indication. This of course it couldn't be a clear in Ratner added, my fiance invited me to that event. Blame her. At the time, the girl in the picture was my fiance, and that's it. That's all. It's crazy. He literally does. Pieces of the women in the photo are blacked out. No details of where or when the picture was taken. In a separate interview with Piers Morgan, the filmmaker said it had been taken about 20 years ago. I was never in contact with Jeffrey Epstein before that photo, and I was never in contact with him after. So that is a picture of me and my fiance at some event, he said. Asked whether he met Epstein before or after that picture, Ratner replied, no, never, never. And also, yeah, if he was dating her and she had dated Jeffrey Epstein or been one of his victims, you think that would never have come up? Like, right. Without further ado, let me play this. Hopefully it won't get. But if it's, then it'll be cut out.
Of course, about 20 years ago, I had a girlfriend. I was in love with her. We were engaged. Fiance. And the couch and the photo was taken at that event. I didn't have and that's where the picture was taken. I didn't remember because I had been asked in the past, do you know him? And I'm like, I don't think so. They invited me to that event at the time, the girl in the picture, and that's it. That's it's, you know, you get thrown into these things. It's crazy. It's horrible.
So first, very bullshit. I wanted to try and find this picture. I've showed it in a previous video, but it's just worth bringing it up again if I can find it. Oops. Sorry. Of Brett Ratner and Alan Dershowitz at a UN dinner. I know I've got it somewhere, but I didn't get it ready for tonight. So I probably won't be able to find it. I have my little filing system, but sometimes it takes a minute. To save it for another time. You have to take my word for it. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to make the point that the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, so obviously this has been so that there's a huge anti-Semitism campaign going on, even though this organization, the ADL, raises millions of dollars probably by now to fight anti-Semitism in Hollywood, and they invite abusers in. Abusers use it as a cover. But yeah, no, I don't have that picture to hand right now. So you'll just, like I said, you'll just have to take it. I know I got it for another video presentation somewhere. I also have all the stuff about Michael Jackson in Bahrain that I saved ages ago, because I know people bring that up in the comments on my live streams. But yeah, I don't want to make too low. What else was I going to show? Alina Pascal, Brett Ratner. Okay. So yeah, this is them together. I mean, obviously in that picture on the sofa, her hair looks blonde and it's obviously very dark. Can you see that? I mean, talk about out of his league. I don't know. What do you think? Doesn't really match the hairstyle. That's them at the 2006 MTV Movie Awards. So they were trying to like launch her as a singer as well. She has a YouTube page. I can show you. So obviously I've shown this on my previous videos I've made, but Brett Ratner very much milked his relationship with Michael Jackson for publicity. He went on another talk show and spoke of how they drove around LA in the middle of the night, throwing in his pajamas, throwing water bombs at homeless people. All the people that tell me what Michael Jackson did so much good things for people. Sure thing. Hanging around with a sex offender, throwing water bombs at homeless people. He sounds like such a nice guy. So there's sort of like rumors that she's been involved with Leonardo DiCaprio, but I don't think I don't see evidence that actually happened. This is her music video. It's very, I definitely was not into this sort of music in the 2000s. But she had a great body. I just think that she's had to go back to Romania because it's not really worked out over in America. And I was just thinking about it as well. It's like, you know, when you sort of look at Melania Trump, and I mean, she's probably comes from a similar sort of circumstance, and she's ended up as the first lady. It's like that could have been her, you know, because essentially this is what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And I mean, on the subject of immigration as well, and tracking them system, isn't, you know, unless it's someone who's not, then it's the hypocrisy of the people that do the commentary convincing us that Michael Jackson is innocent. Like the Redacted channel, they also make content saying that immigration is causing all of the problems, but yet in the Epstein files it was happening in plain sight. Another thing I wanted to show you quickly before I go, let me just show you. Was there anything interesting here? I don't think there really was. I mean, there's nothing about her being with Epstein or being a victim or anything. It's really crazy. It's like I wasn't expecting to see so many videos about her. A lot of them are in Romanian. So this is her channel. She only has 25 subscribers, but she's got some videos there. Anyhow, one more thing I was going to show was oops, not that one. See what the chat's saying. Epstein had ties with the American banknote company and very well could have had. I know. You see stuff about the that he arranged for those two women? I mean, I was literally laughing. Models are toys, diamond. Thing is, I've been friends with a lot of models in my life. So I have a lot of compassion to models. Some of them are not nice, but majority of them were the loveliest people on the set. I always used to bond with the models work with, because I used to work in the fashion industry for a long time. You found that info on the SEC. Found photos of several. I don't think that Alina Pascal is a very nice person. I think she, but I'm gonna give her that it definitely seems like she could have been an Epstein victim. But I'm just surprised that that nothing more has been said about it, because I mean, it literally says he was her girlfriend and she obviously came over when she was 16. I mean, there is a picture of it, but you just can't see it. It's so blurry. You can't even tell who she is in the picture. Have I ever seen a video of a man sounding like John Podesta and the Screaming Child? No, but I did find an email. It's not on the Epstein files. It's on one of the other websites that was associated with the Epstein files. I think it was before the Epstein files, the government site was made. And they're in communication. Jeffrey Epstein is in communication with that Podesta company. Right. So yeah, because I was sort of like going back to whoever said I'm not QAnon. I'm definitely not QAnon. The whole Pizzagate thing, I didn't know anything about it. It went completely over my head. So I'm kind of catching on to this whole MAGA thing now, like understanding how it's influenced so much of the content we've experienced over the last few years. But yeah, I was just coming up with like some mad hypothesis that could it have been an idea that was being floated by, because obviously Epstein and Steve Bannon were like super tight at this time when these emails were going on, because I think it was like around 2017, if I remember correctly. So it was just a bit of a mad theory I did in one of my live streams. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about one more mention of Brett Ratner was the Snow White story. Yeah. So there was this email. Oh, I just realized the chat is hiding the photo. So there was this email from July 2010 from Jess Staley. So obviously Jess Staley was the JP Morgan investment banker who was working with Epstein on doing the banking for all these highly suspect people. Let's just say that. And he sent an email saying maybe they're tracking you. That was fun. So I guess this was a different day to the FBI van being outside. That was fun. Say hi to Snow White. Okay, so for a long time, speaking of QAnon, people were speculating as to Snow White being a code language. But in actual fact, this picture was found that was part of the Epstein files. Let me see if I can move it over with my cursor. Maybe not. It's not going to let me. Oh, it's going to let me move a little bit. So can you see this girl dressed up as Snow White? So there was another email that he sent to whoever this victim is. Let me get that chat out the way so you can see it. Right. I've got rid of the chat so you can see what I'm talking about. So this all started from Jeffrey Epstein sending an email to this girl saying Brett Ratner's directing a Snow White film. I want you to go and get a costume. And so there's the girl in the costume. And then the next day, you've got this email from Jess Staley where he says, that was fun, say hi to Snow White. And she was, and the girl, I mean, I haven't brought up all the emails, but she was saying how excited she was because she was going to castings. And I actually genuinely feel sorry for these girls because they were sent over to America as teenagers and they were promised these dreams of modeling jobs and contracts and a transformative life. And it was all bullshit. And Jeffrey Epstein was just passing them around to these horrible men. And kind of humiliating them. And really nothing's happening about it because everyone's just saying, well, being in the files doesn't indicate any wrongdoing. It's literally, I don't know how you can say it's right doing. Anyway, I think that was all I was going to say for tonight. This was another article I found about the EFAA. Recent developments. This was on December 24. Recent developments regarding the ending forced arbitration of sexual assault, sexual harassment act of 2021. So it was signed by President Joe Biden, which I think's interesting. Speaking of QAnon, I'm just saying. But anyway, I think that's about it for tonight. I think there's no doubt in my mind that Michael Jackson works with the same people as Diddy, as Brett Ratner, as Ron Burkle. And it just gives a little bit more credence to the allegations that are being made against him. Oh, one thing I meant to say, I know this was in my notes, very important actually. So I said that Brett Ratner was involved when they were trying to create this TV program for Fox. Interesting that Brett Ratner's still going on Fox, which is obviously on the right side of politics, owned by Murdoch. Yeah, so they're all creating this program, and meanwhile Gavin Arvizo and his family are sort of being held hostage at Neverland. Like the whole bunch of them are trying to get them to make a video doing the exact same thing they did to the Casios. Like, you need to make a public statement on video saying what a great guy Michael Jackson is and how he would never hurt any children. So what happened was, if you look at Gavin Arvizo's younger brother, so Gavin Arvizo was around 13 when this happened, when he went on Martin Bashir. And Michael Jackson said, Gavin Arvizo said, you said, Michael Jackson said, if you love me, you'll sleep in the bed with me. And so Michael Jackson was there holding his hand, and he basically was busted on the camera. So after that program aired, I mean, I guess he thought, because the BBC does quite a good job of whitewashing people's reputations, that they wouldn't show that as if he was doing anything wrong, because he really didn't believe that he was doing anything wrong. He said, what's more loving than sharing your bed with someone? Martin Bashir was like astounded. But yeah, so they actually flew on Chris Tucker's private jet to Miami. Star Arvizo said that. He also said, this is what the sound cut out on my last live stream. He said that in the hotel, Mary Nicole Cascio was accused of drinking the alcohol from the minibar, or she had drunk it. And Michael Jackson made extremely inappropriate sexual comments towards her in front of him. He was 10 and he testified about this. But yeah, so they flew on Chris Tucker's plane. So Chris Tucker was part of this scheme to try and rehabilitate, rescue Michael Jackson's image at this point still. But yet these people saying there's no indication they did anything wrong. Chris Tucker is all over the Epstein files. He flew on the plane like 11 times on one of the flight logs. He's on there. And the reason why Gavin went to the police in the end, why they went to the police, was because Michael Jackson was giving him alcohol and he was drinking it. And he was that worried. At this point, he only had one kidney because of the cancer. He was that worried that it was going to show up in his blood test, the alcohol, that he told his mum. And that's how this whole thing blew up, because his mum took him to the police. And it was then turned into, they wanted money. They never received any money to this day. The Arvizo family was humiliated beyond belief. And I think he's now retreated into somewhat of a private life and probably never wants to hear the word Michael Jackson again. But yeah, so I just thought that that was worth it, reminding people as well of how tight this group of people around Epstein, Michael Jackson, Ron Burkle, Citric, Diddy, and Martin Singer, the lawyer. All right, I think I'm going to leave it for tonight, unless anyone's got anything to add. Guilty by association, right? I mean, these are kids we're talking about. A 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. Literally, like, a lot of these people, they don't want to admit it, like Michael Jackson. I know that everyone says, oh, well, he come from a poor background, but by the time they started performing and the Jackson 5 had taken off, like, they lived in a swanky area. He went to a private school. Like, he was very privileged during the most part of his childhood, materially, obviously not emotionally. The same with Brett Ratner. I don't know about Chris Tucker, but definitely Ray J and Brandy Norwood, you know. So these kids, the Arvizo kids, the kids that Michael Jackson preyed on, did not come from those backgrounds. They didn't stand a chance. They had nothing. They had no resources. They had no friends. They had no power. It was very easy to manipulate them. Maybe not the Cassios. The Cassios were quite well off, I think, but the Arvizos were like lamb to the slaughter. And not one of these people around them felt bad about being part of the cover-up. Thank you so much. It was good to see you in the chat. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon. Maybe I'll be showing my face next time. Hopefully the connection was stronger without the camera on. And hopefully if I prepare notes again, I won't lose them in the middle of the broadcast. Okay, have a lovely rest of the evening. I'll see you soon. Bye.